Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we're walking you through your 2026 Wildwood Grand Lodge 42 Ice. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. If you notice in that top left-hand corner, you are pre-mounted for a Lippert collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with that, it is as simple as contact your parts department and they would be more than happy to help you out. There also is going to be a few more accessories they do mention throughout the video, and again, for any of those, it is just as simple as contacting a parts department. The collapsible stair system is going to be a great addition to your camper, especially just due to the sheer size of this guy here. You're going to have to go up to on your roof and always check your seals periodically. It will come in your manual to tell you exactly how long the intervals are. It's very important you upkeep the sealant up there, and that collapsible stair system just makes it that much easier getting up there. Also located at the back is going to be your cable satellite inlet in case you're getting set up with that. And then if you come along to the driver's side of the unit, this is the side we'll start on. You got your exterior shower that does open up with your standard 751 key. You're going to have hot and cold sprayable water. Great little thing in case the dog comes back a little muddy or your significant other maybe don't want them inside. You got your two low point drains. Sorry. No low point drains down here. I'm not sure why that's there. But if we do move further ahead, you're going to notice this compartment here. It is a keyed lock. You're going to notice it says M, so it's going to open up with one of those gray keys you have on your keychain. Open this guy up. It realistically is just a service port for your hot water heater. And bringing me to the hot water heater, this isn't like your traditional standard water heater. For 2026, I do believe they started in 2025, though, to be honest, we started coming in with what we call tankless water heating system. So if you had a camper before, it probably had a tank system, in which case when it came time to winterization, there's bypass valves you had to turn. Now this system is the complete opposite. There's no bypass valves behind here. If there is, you don't touch them. The only things you really need to worry about in here is this power switch. So when you go to winterize it, important to turn it off. That way it's not trying to heat that antifreeze that's coming through, because antifreeze is flammable. Turning this off, and then once you're done your winterization process completely, just cracking this pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open for the duration of winter. So that way, once those super cold months do kick in here in Manitoba and antifreeze starts gelling up, it has a place to escape to instead of cracking and expanding inside those coils. Now, if you come straight beside that, you do get your standard 50 amp twist lock connection. Your cord's gonna obviously look a tiny bit different, but it's pretty much the same thing. You're just taking note of this silver strip there. It lines up with this silver strip on this side, pushing it firmly into place, a turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. Now today, we're not plugged into your standard 50 amp connection. Typically 50 amp connection is gonna look a little bit different than this. And in Manitoba, it's not very common to have it. They are slowly working on it though here in the campgrounds. But that's why we do include a 30 amp dog bone adapter that's going to look exactly like this. It takes that 50 amp connection, turns it down into a 30. Now, the only thing you have to keep in mind whenever you are using that is if the unit's equipped with 2 air conditioners, which I'm not sure yet if this one is or isn't, you won't be able to run both airs at the same time. You will only be able to run one at a time. So just be mindful of that whenever you're using it. If you come down, you're going to notice this black tank flush. This is going to be for flushing out that black tank. It's going to be pretty important you do that pretty much almost every use, but if not, at least every second or third use. It just helps break things down inside that tank that much better, keeps things that little bit cleaner. It's going to especially help with false monitor panel readings. It's just very important that you do read the caution sticker. It's just letting you know that if you're using it, it's very important that you have to have your sewer hose connected and your black tank valve open. And the reason being is if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank and that pressure has nowhere to go, it could expand that tank to a point of cracking, which gets pretty expensive pretty quick. So you're gonna wanna avoid that. So just make sure that you do, again, just have your black tank valve open before you try and flush the tank. This one over here, you're gonna notice this exit doesn't have any valves connected to it. And that is because it's your washer dryer prep. That's where the washer would drain all its water. Now, if you decided to go with a washer inside, it's gonna be extremely important that before you go to use your washer, that you take this cap and twist it off. That way, once the washer goes to drain all its water, it's allowed to drain it out and it doesn't backflow inside of the unit, causing you a absolute mess. So again, just be very cautious with that. And then we do come to our first sewer exit here. The one on the left is gonna be that black tank. That's gonna be the one you're gonna wanna empty first, as it's gonna be your dirtiest water. And then you can come behind that with your gray. It's typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. You can come with that second. Again, twist lock, take that off. Your sewer hose is going to have the same ears. We do have a brand new sewer hose located inside the front compartment, inside that starter kit. Coming a little bit further down the unit, right in front of those back tires, you get your secondary exit. This is going to be for your galley tanks. That's just like your kitchen sink pretty much. So that's where you would drain that. And then down, sorry, just taking a lay of the land. Come a little bit further up ahead. You get your furnace exhaust. Whenever your furnace is on and running, this will be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that, especially if you're leaving it in a seasonal spot where the bushes sometimes do tend to grow in. It's gonna be pretty important just to keep it trimmed around it. That way it doesn't try and cause a fire. I don't think it ever would, but it is a possibility. Fresh water connection. So if you're campground, turned off water early and you still want to camp a little bit, you could siphon some water inside of here or just fill it up with a garden hose, and then you could run your water pump right down below it. That's gonna be your most common connection, especially for something of this size. Your city water connection, so if you're out of site with service, just throw a garden hose in there, turn it on. No need to even run your water pump. It automatically pressurizes all your lines. Right down below, you're gonna notice fresh tank drain. This little white valve here, pulling it, that is how you drain all the fresh tank water out. It's gonna be very important you do that, especially before winter. Inside here is gonna be one of your very few storage compartments, which happens to be locked. And of course, I don't have my keys, but that's where that is. At the very front, you get your battery located inside that box there, and then you get your 2 standard 30-pound propane tanks right in front. Obviously, most of the time you can get what you need done just by flipping back this lid and getting access to the top of the 2 tanks. But let's say you had to change them out. The lid does, the cover does just slide off nice and easy, just like so. And then you got your 2 standard propane tanks. Right at the front of the regulator, you got that selector valve with it pointed to this direction. You're obviously going to be drawing off this tank, so you can counterclockwise like any standard barbecue, opening up the flow of propane. Now, if this tank were to go empty, close it off. You can even take it and remove it and go get it filled. And while you're doing so, you can just flip this to this side and start drawing off this tank while this one's either being filled or at the end of the season, you're not really worried about it. A couple plug-ins on the outside here. You do get your patio door entrance. It's going to work the same way as the rear entrance. Today we will be entering through the rear entrance though. Again, a couple more plugs outside. Coax plug-in, outlet, sorry. Stairs, pulling them straight ahead, fold down, pull the last one down, does flip down into place. That'll allow you to open up the door. Once your door is open, that'll allow you to take a step on inside. Now, first thing you are going to notice once you step inside is that everything's pretty closed off. Unfortunately, when these ones come closed, you do have to step over the couch a little bit. I'm going to go over there quickly and turn on some lights. So we're going to turn the light switches on in here. This big light switch right here in the middle, which I will show you once we get our slides open, turns on the main living space lights. I'll leave the cameraman over there just for 1 second. Now, of course, before you operate your slide outs, it's always going to be a good measure to make sure you just do a very good visual check inside and out. And on the inside, just making sure that nothing's shifted either during storage or during travel that's going to get caught in between the slide out and the wall. And then, of course, just on the outside, making sure you have adequate space to push it out all the way without running it into anything. Once you do check that for both slides, bedroom, and kitchen, you'll be able to run your slide outs. They both work off the same switch. Typically, the bedroom one goes out first, and then your kitchen. And then for coming in, it's always the kitchen first and then the bedroom. But if you push and hold that button, the slide out's going to start making its way up, making their way out. Of course, bedroom one's going first, and this one will follow behind it once that one's out. And you'll know that these slide outs are at their full extension. When you see the lights sort of dim a little bit, you're going to hear the motors wind up pretty good. So you saw those lights flicker, everything dimmed. Now, if you want to be extra cautious, just run your hand between the rubber seal and the wall, making sure that it is pushed up against there, sealing out any moisture from coming on in. And now, if you want, we can start all the way at the front, in the front bedroom space, opening up this door. The light switch is just behind the wall. It's on its own center push button. And then you get your VersaTilt bed control right next to it. You're going to notice the VersaTilt bed is in its up position. It's important that it's in its up position when you go to bring this in. So that way, once this is all the way in, it doesn't run into contact with your cabinetry up front. And then to put it down, it's just as simple as pushing the button. It starts making its way down. Now, all the blinds in this unit do work the same way. They just kind of One quick pull will allow them to retract back up if they're down. And then if you want them to set them somewhere, you just pull, stop, it stays where it stays. And then again, one quick pull to retract it back up. In the bedroom space, this is going to be your fire exit for the unit. Works pretty standard. Pulling these handles, the window is going to unlock itself. You can then push the window out, and then of course trying to go out feet first, but if there is a fire, getting out as quickly as possible. And just noticing what's right in front of you, there's going to be those propane tanks there, so when you're getting down, just be careful. We don't want you to hurt yourself. At the front, you get some beautiful cabinetry, tons of storage space. Now, this does go for the storage throughout the whole unit. Whenever you are using it, we want you to utilize it to its full capabilities. Just, of course, keeping in mind of drains, water lines, and wiring. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that. Right here, you get your fireplace for the bedroom space. Power button on the far right turns it on. Next, you get your different flame colors. After that, you get your different rock light colors. The button 2 in from the left, if you push it twice, you go into low heat. One more time, you get into high heat. And then the far left does do a timer that goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Power button to turn that back off. If you lift up this, that'll allow you to open this guy up. You're going to notice some wires running back here, and you're also going to notice these cable satellite outlets. Take note of that little black button with this green light on. That's letting you know that the antenna is on the roof. It's going to also improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency. But whenever you aren't using the unit or leaving it for a while, we do always recommend turning it off, as it does draw battery power. Probably noticing the big empty void right above the fireplace with this little hole here. There is reinforcement here to mount a TV. Just keep in mind of the size, especially because it does have to fit between the wall and of course this. You're not going to be wanting this cabinet to run into it. So just get one that fits. Again, cabinet space, there's tons of it. Underneath, if you pick up at the foot of the bed, that will allow you to open up a whole new storage space as well. That is open into your front compartment, and then you get a nice little shoe rack or clothing, whatever you want to pile there. Behind the bed, of course, you got windows on either side, lights on their own center push buttons above your head. They're kind of like reading style lights. And then in this area, you get all your clothing storage space. Now you're going to notice this drawer, it's reading antifreeze inlet. That's just letting you know that that is where you get access to the water pump. So you just pull these tabs on either side, pull them opposite ways of each other. The drawer is going to slide out of place. And then once you do look down there, you're going to find your bypass hose. If you follow the bypass hose back, that'll bring you to your bypass valve. So then you can insert the hose into your jug of antifreeze and start drawing off that. Get storage space all throughout, and that is about it for the bedroom space. Now, if you come take a step up, you get into your kind of main living space. This area here is where your kind of main control center, I would consider it. Again, you got your slide out switch, we did already go over. The main light switch, this turns on all the main living space lights, and it is on a dimmer, so you go bright to dim. Wherever you leave it, that's where it's going to stay. Water pump switch in case you're boondocking. Then you get a couple different awning. You got awning light, LED light outside, and then you do have some accent lighting you can turn on. It's going to do some backlighting in your slide outs, as well as kind of lights up around the island a little bit. Then of course you get your monitor panel system. Pushing the button tells you the corresponding tank level. It's going to tell you have a black tube, but it isn't actually hooked up to anything. The only thing that should be hooked up is your black one. And then to my right, you get your JBL sound controller. That is kind of the radio for the unit. It does run off Bluetooth. You have to hook your phone up to it for it to play any noise. Other than that, it works like your standard household stereo. And then right down below, you get your thermostat for your water heater. Unfortunately, I did forget to turn that switch off when we were outside, but it does work pretty simple. Once the power was turned on, you just have to push the power button. It would either turn that screen on or off. If it was on, it's going to show you a temperature, what the current output is. And then if you push up or down at any time, that'll change what you want your set temperature to be. You're probably asking yourself, well, what do I set my water temperature at? I don't really know. We get that a lot. Now, this does, again, work a little bit differently than your standard tanked water system. I'll relate it to being at home because most people do have tanked water systems at home. You turn on your hot tap. If it's too hot, you just blend in the cold and make it work. This system doesn't exactly like that. It'll do it, but it does allow it for inconsistency in the water temperature, some cold spots, not enjoyable, especially if you're taking a shower. So how you do want to set this is when you have the hot tap fully cranked, you want the water to be comfortable to touch and all that good stuff. Now, if your kids are listening, maybe close their ears because there is a safety feature with this guy. As an added safety feature, you're locked to 50 degrees Celsius right off the bat. Now, keep it in mind, 50 degrees Celsius water is already really hot and you run the risk of scalding your hands. But if you push that up button for 5 seconds, it does unlock it and allow you to go up another 5 degrees to 55 degrees Celsius water. Just keep it in mind, that's really hot water. You're probably going to scald your hands, so if you're using it, just be cautious with it. And then you get your thermostat over here. It's probably going to be the main thermostat for the unit. So you push the button once, it illuminates itself. Push again, you're going to get into your different fan speeds first. So you got auto, low, and high. I'm always going to recommend using the auto function as it's going to choose the best setting it finds necessary. And it'll also create an on-demand system. So let's say you set the room to 65. The room's currently 70. Once the room reaches 65, it'll automatically kill the air conditioners. If you had that on the fan setting on either high or low, the fan will run continuously until you actually manually turn it off. Just keep that in mind, and that's going to be especially important when it comes time to firing up your furnace, as your furnace does run off propane and it's its own entity and it has one fan speed. But if you push that power button again, is when you're going to get into that cool setting. So again, now at this point, you can change your set temperature to whatever you desire, and it would just run consistently until it reached that and then kill it, and so on and so forth. After that, you push the mode button one more time. That's going to kill your air conditioner, fire up your furnace. Again, your furnace is its own entity, only has one fan speed, and once you do turn on the furnace, it always runs for an additional 3 minutes after being turned off, just to allow itself adequate time to cool down. Power button again, turns it all off. Now this is your main thermostat for the unit. This is going to control your furnace as well as your front air conditioner. There's going to be another thermostat at the back for that rear air conditioner, but that's only going to control your rear air. It's not going to control your furnace or anything else. So again, it's going to work the same way as this one, except it only operates the rear air. Up top, beautiful loft space, tons of space. Off on the right, you get a light switch that's going to turn on the lights up there. Other than that, up top, it's mainly sleeping space. Some storage, of course, but that's about it. You get your residential style fridge, which there's not much I need to show you there. And then it brings me into the kitchen. Now, the first thing I will go over once we get to the kitchen is going to be this stove. Now, because I'm at my stove, I'm going to mention it. Because this unit's equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right over there on that island near the ground. If that guy does ever start going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit, open up some windows and vents, and get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Now, whenever you turn the system off at the front of the unit, or especially if you disconnect one of the propane bottles, it does allow air into the system. Once air makes its way in, it does have to be purged out. Now, the quickest, easiest way to do that is by firing your stove, and that's just because you get to decide how long the gas runs for and how many lighting sequences it tries to go through. If you went to go try to fire up your water heater, your furnace, or anything else propane before you ran your stove, there is a chance that you could get a fail to light code. And if you don't know what it means, it could throw a little wrench into your weekend, maybe some frustration. And we do like to keep you happy here at Transcona. So that's why I always recommend every customer I talk to just to fire up their stove first thing. It's just that sure shot way to get things flowing already. So that way, if you do to try to fire up anything else, it should fire up first time. But if something does fail like the first time, always at least try it a second time. Again, it just could be a weird purging issue. But now when it comes time to lighting the stove, because it's a gas stove, you're going to want to be extra safe whenever doing so. Try and keep your face a little bit further back. You got up top, you do have a vent to suck up the fumes as you're creating them. It works off that. I always recommend running that whenever you are running your stove. That way, again, you're evacuating the fumes as you create them. But coming time to lighting them, you turn this over, it has an automatic igniter. It lit up pretty quick today. That's just because I had the system running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so you do have to be patient with it. Just, of course, if you have the gas valve on, making sure that you're hearing the lighting going on and try and maybe take a peek to see where the igniter is going to see the blue flame. Because let's say, for instance, the ignition system failed for whatever reason. It doesn't happen often, but I'm sure it's possible. And you were running propane through here, propane starts coming through, but there's no source to light it. It's going to cause it to build up, and then when there would be an ignition source, It could poof up and blow up in your face a little bit. You're going to probably just lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. Again, that's something you're going to want to avoid. So just be cautious whenever you are lighting it. Try and hold your face back. Don't be sticking your face right next to it. And to get in the light, the oven is the same thing. You're going to flip this down. The gas orifice is way down here at the back, so I recommend looking through these grate holes as you're running it. So what you first want to do is get the pilot to light. So you're going to turn that over to the pilot option, push and hold the knob in. You're going to see it sparking down below. Again, this is a prime example. The oven can be exceptionally finicky to light just because the gas orifice is so small, but now you're going to see that pilot lit. Now, once that pilot's able to stay lit without you holding in on the button, at that point, it is ready to be fired up. So you could turn it up to your desired temperature and it would fire right on up. You got an oven light on the right, and then on the left, you got some cool illumination lights that turn on some blue lights underneath the knobs. Crazy storage all throughout. Other than that, it's a pretty standard kitchen area. Nice pantry thing put in here. Island space, tons of it. Use it as you like. Just, of course, just keeping a note, the orientation of the bar stools. It's very important they go exactly how they are, because failure to do so, if you went to go to run that slide out in, you weren't paying attention, it could bind and cause damage to either the stool or the island. Either or is a bad option. And then, of course, if you are moving this unit around, just noting that we do have travel straps here. That's just stopping this from shifting during travel. Now that we're done in the kitchen space, you're going to notice to the left coming in the door, that's where the fire extinguisher is located. If you ever needed it, hopefully you don't. You got another switch here that's going to turn on a really nice pendant light, I believe they're called, right above your island. And now you get to your shades. So you're going to notice TV lift. I will go over that after. When the switch is up, the shade is active. So you got those two top shades. You're going to notice it says motorized, do not pull down. I do recommend leaving those stickers there. That way, not only does it remind you, but it reminds maybe any other guests that maybe you haven't told about it, because if you try and force them up or down, it's probably going to break the motors. But they do work pretty simply. I do love it. That way you don't got to get a step stool if you're a shorter person to get up there. And then also located on this panel is your TV lift. So if you notice over there, we currently have it set down. So you have a nice counter space in case you had board games you'd set out or something. But if you wanted to watch TV, it is just as simple as turning on the button, pushing the up button. That's going to start rolling its way up. And you're probably going to want it all the way up if you're watching TV so you can see the whole screen. And once it's all the way up, the motor's automatically cut out and it's up and you're ready to go. And then to bring it down, again, just the total opposite. Whenever you are moving this thing around, I highly recommend bringing it all the way down though. It just eliminates the option, or whatever you want to call it, of it flopping around, causing any damage. You have another fireplace here in the living space. It does work the same way as it did in the bedroom. Let's say you had some extra guests that you couldn't fit in either bunk space above, which you have tons of it. This does fold down into a couch. You're just having to remove these cushions from the back here. Take this cushion, take the bottom of the couch, pull it up and towards you. At that point, the legs are going to want to flip down. Once those are down, this back cushion will flop right over, and then you have yourself another bed. In case, again, you had some extra guests that you weren't planning on, you got extra guest space. A little hidden feature they don't commonly tell you about. Inside here, you get a little bit of blanket storage, which I thought was nice. Also acts as a ledge for people to put their drinks. And that, of course, you also have two cup holders in that back corner there. I find cup holders important. I'm a messy person, so those would be good for me. Up top, again, just a sleeping space, not much up there, which brings us to our last area, which is the bathroom. Now, whenever you're opening either one of these either the bedroom door or the bathroom door, they do open a little bit differently, especially if you're not used to it. I walked into it the first time I ever had to use one. You kind of have to slide and push at the same time, like it doesn't open like your standard door. So don't bulldoze it down if you're in a rush. Once you're in the bathroom, you do have two different light options. You got this nice little LED light option in the shower in case you were looking for a shower vibe of some sort, or a nice selfie light. And then you do have the main light switch as well that turns on. Other than that, it's your pretty standard bathroom. Bunch of crazy different options when it comes to the shower head, as you notice. I love it. It's fancy. It's cool. In your bathroom sink space, off on the left, that is that main GFI plug. I would say 90% of the plugs are probably going to be ran through this. So if you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, sometimes these do trip for the oddest reasons. So just make sure that if you have an outlet that doesn't work, you just double check that this isn't tripped. You got test on the bottom, reset in the middle. Toilet over here. Now what's behind the last and final door? Another crazy pantry space, or where you could possibly get set up with a washer dryer. Again, if you'd like to get set up with that, it is as simple as contacting a parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out. You're pre-plumbed and pre-wired for it. So again, if you'd like to get set up with it, you could just contact us. Roof vent over here. In case you had a steamy shower, you don't actually have a roof vent up top. It's just up the side. You just have to push the black button, push on that. Power button on the top. It's going to start sucking out any fumes, especially if you had a stanky number 2. That is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.